Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we'll be discussing about one of the approaches in English language teaching, which is about the TPR or what we call total physical response. So as we move on with our TPR or total physical response, we're going to look into how this approach will be applied in teaching, particularly in English language class. So I'll give you first a background of TPR or what we call total physical response. This is basically a method developed by Dr. James J. Asher of 1977, who is a professor of psychology at San Jose State University of California, that focus on the results of experiences through observation. So if you're going to look at the TPR, Asher has three hypotheses. It's about the observation, and then after that, they have the listening. After that one, they're about to engage themselves within, and then after that they will have the the third part, which is about learning language should not involve in any stress. So if you're going to look at total physical response, they're just about to listen. um, After listening, they're about to imitate. All right, so we'll be proceeding already. So what are the characteristics of TPR? Basically, when we talk about the characteristics of TPR or the total physical response, this is like an audiolingual method, but this is a coordination of speech and action because the role of the learners here are just listener, and then after that, they're about to perform. So if you're going to look at TPR also, the learners monitor and evaluate their own progress by just following what the teacher is trying to say or is trying to do. So reading and writing is taught after grammar and vocabulary, and grammar is taught inductively or what we call specific to general. So grammar and vocabulary selected according to the situation, and then they are very particular with learning language into its gestures or body movements. So the teacher and the students are all actors here. So they just listen, and then after listening, they're about to imitate. So here, students are more active and talkative, and our students here are into motorist student or what we call they try to put it into psychomotor, meaning what they listen, they act. And therefore, they try to understand English language through actions, through listening, and then after that, they will have their actions. All right. So, what or how do you think the total physical response is being applied in language teaching? So, if you're going to look at the macro skills that we have, the reading, writing, and vocabulary, they are about, or the students about to predict skills and read the certain text, and then they're about to make a dialogue, and then they try to picture out, and then after that, while trying to understand the vocabulary, they try to put it into reality. They see it and then demonstrate it. And then after demonstrating, they try to put it in conversation. On their other hand, if they are about to learn about structure in terms of syntax, they put it into a reality or in a dialogue. And then after putting it in a dialogue, they try to demonstrate it. So basically, at the total physical response, they are about to learn keywords, vocabularies, understand the sentences, and then after listening to the instructions, they're about to imitate what is being said by the teacher or what is being instructed by the teacher. All right. So what are the basic principles of TPR? TPR is basically more of a listening activity or listening, testing the listening abilities of our students, and vocabulary must be developed first. And there must not be any stress in the class because they are more or less like having a play, and our students are just following the instructions and acting out what is being said. So regular repetition is underlying in the principle of total physical response. So therefore action verbs are the core of the total physical response, and the way on how they teach vocabulary is trying to imagine it. After imagining it, saying it, from the listening activity, they are about to imagine it. After that, they're about to put it into action. So no forcing, but exploiting the students' errors for exposing other structure points. They are exposed to the natural use of language, and then they create an artificial English community in the classroom. So where do you think STP are very applicable? It is very applicable in terms of teaching preschool students because they try to make it creatively presented through singing, through dancing, and through some rhyming songs like that. So the more often we trace memory under TPR is the more intensively we repeat. So the stronger the memory association are and the more likely it will be recalled among the students. So what are the advantages of TPR, or what we call total physical response? It is fun and easy and memorable. That's why I have told you that this is very applicable to elementary students or the preschool students because usually the teachers are trying to use it in music, I mean musical activity, so that the students will be, engaged with the learning the English language. So it is a good tool for building vocabulary, and it can facilitate students with the meaning in real context. So it does not require a great deal of preparation because learning in the language classroom is comfortable by just listening and then just by following the instructions like that or twerking. So help the students immediately understand the target language. TPR is inclusive and works well a class with mixed ability levels. It helps learners achieve fluency faster in learning language. And it benefits the struggling students because they are working in a game, working in a certain activity that are creatively presented because they're just going to copy or imitate what the teacher is trying to say and what the teacher is trying to do. So it also creates a positive environment, so positive thinking too. So what are the disadvantages of TPR, or what we call total physical response? Students are not generally given the opportunity to express their own thoughts in a creative way because they are just going to copy or imitate what the teacher would do. So it can be a challenge for shy students because since at the TPR, they are about to copy and imitate. So definitely they're not or there are students that are not opening up themselves, especially if it's the first day of class. So it's not very creative method, but creative method in a way, but for a teacher to do it in a creative way, the flexibility of the total physical response is very manageable. So overusing TPR causes someone easily bored, especially if your students are into the advanced level because students here are just imitating. So certain target languages may not be suited to this method, and it is limited to just copying and cannot be explained since everything cannot be explained with this method because they are just about to have a main copying the thing that the teacher is trying to have. So if you're going to compare TPR to traditional method, when we talk about traditional method, this is just about teacher centered. On the other hand, the TPR method, it's a student centered because the students are doing the task, listen to the teacher, and then doing the task based on the vocabulary being presented or vocabulary being utilized. So in traditional method, too much is spoon feeding, but on the TPR, there is an active learning by the students. On the other hand, for the traditional method, it's non-communicative because the teacher is always talking. On the other hand, a TPR method, it's a plurally communicative. What do you mean by plurally communicative? Everyone is going to listen and then act on it. So everyone is in unison on working or doing also or learning also about certain vocabularies. So at the traditional method, they neglect students' creativity. However, in TPR, they stress on students' creativity and also teachers. So in traditional method, output is more than input. Input must be used as best of creativity. On the other hand, for TPR. So in traditional method, error is a sin, but in TPR, error is part of study. In traditional method, since it's more of a teacher-centered, teachers tend to threaten, the students to learn something. On the other hand, in TPR, since there are more of games, more of music, more of other activities, they are very relaxing and non-frightening. So here at traditional method, the teacher explains everything. On the other hand, the TPR, the teacher gives motivation and encouragement for the students to follow. Also imitate the teacher. So at the traditional method, sometimes the teacher's explanation is not clear. On the other hand, at the TPR method, the teacher's role is a stage manager. So at the traditional method or the TM, students are listener. On the other hand, for the TPR method, students are actors and actor. All right. So to cut short and to make an overview or summary of what is TPR, TPR is basically the teaching methods that emphasizes on the active learning through actions. So learning through imitation. So it means that learning speaking skill through listening to their teacher and before requiring them to speak and asking them to practice. I've been using verbal communication accompanied by physical action. So there are three basic steps under total physical response method: listen, watch, and imitate. So again, the three basic steps of the total physical response are the following: listen, watch, and imitate. So I hope you learned something about total physical response and try to comment about any examples of total physical response in the comment section here at the YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat.